one day somebody does something unspeakable to someone else, to someone you hardly knew, and you do something about it because you can.
From MSN, we get this story. An active duty Army sergeant was taken into custody yesterday on suspicion of opening fire at his workplace on the sprawling Fort Stewart military base in Georgia. Fort Stewart's an Army base, wounding 5 of his fellow soldiers. The suspect, identified as Sergeant Cornelius Samentrio Radford, who's 28, was subdued by nearby soldiers after he began shooting with a personal handgun, striking coworkers, according to Brigadier General John Lubas. He's the commanding general of the 3rd Infantry Division. Now, all 5 soldiers are in stable condition, Lubas said at a news conference yesterday. Radford's motive is not known. The shooting is among at least 262 mass shootings in the United States so far this year, according to the Gun Violence Archive. It comes within days of shootings at a Midtown Manhattan skyscraper and a neighborhood bar in rural Montana that left multiple people dead. So here's what we know. Radford had a disagreement with one of the shooting victims on Tuesday, according to a law enforcement official briefed on the case. He followed that coworker to a maintenance area and shot him in the chest before shooting 4 others. It's unclear what the disagreement was about, but other soldiers prevented further casualties by tackling Radford before police arrested him, said Lubas. That's General Lubas. Quote, soldiers in the area that witnessed the shooting immediately and without hesitation tackled the soldier, subdued him. That allowed law enforcement to then take him into custody, said General Lubas. Radford, a native of Jacksonville, Florida, joined the Army in 2018 as an automated logistical specialist and was assigned to the 2nd Brigade Combat Team. His role involved handling supplies and warehouse operations. Now, General Lubas said Sergeant Radford had not deployed to a combat zone and had no known behavioral incidents in his military record. However, the general acknowledged that Radford had been arrested for driving under the influence in May of this year, an arrest that his chain of command was unaware of prior to the shooting. Wow. The DUI arrest was unknown to his chain of command until the event occurred, and we started looking into the law enforcement databases. Sergeant Radford used a personal handgun, not a military weapon, in the shooting. The firearm was a 9mm Glock that the suspect bought in Florida in May, according to law enforcement officials briefing on the case. Now, the gun was recovered at the scene along with numerous shell casings, said officials. Authorities are unsure how Sergeant Radford got the gun through the base's high security. I'll tell you how in a minute. Before carrying out the shooting at his place of work. They said, at our gates, we have armed guards and protective equipment. We're going to have to determine how he was able to get a handgun to his place of duty. Carrying personal firearms on base is typically prohibited by military regulations, but the U.S. Army's Fort Stewart trains and deploys active and reserve Army units, is what they do. Law enforcement was dispatched to the incident at 10:56 a.m. Eastern Time, according to a social media post from Fort Stewart Hunter Army Airfield. Less than 10 minutes later, the base was locked down at 11:09 a.m. That's East Coast. Emergency personnel were sent to treat the 5 soldiers who were shot. While all 5 soldiers are in stable condition, 3 of them required surgery, said General Lubas, confirming that the shooting did include Sergeant Radford's coworkers. Radford was apprehended at 11:35 a.m., the Fort Stewart social media post said. The lockdown of the main containment area was lifted 35 minutes later, according to the Post. Now, since the shooting, Radford has been interviewed by Army Criminal Investigation Division, CID, and now sits in pretrial confinement as he waits for a charging decision by the Office of the Special Trial Counsel. And that was as of yesterday. In addition to military training grounds, Fort Stewart is home to thousands of families who live on base with their family members assigned there. The base supports more than 10,000 people, including soldiers, family members, Army civilian employees, according to the Army. The shooting happened in an area of the base that houses the 2nd Armored Brigade Combat Team, also known as the Spartan Brigade. Now, following yesterday's shooting, authorities said they'd prioritize the well being of the victims and community at Fort Stewart. They said, our primary focus is first on caring for our injured soldiers and their families, and also supporting the soldiers of the Spartan Brigade, said General Lubas. He went on, all of the families of the victims have been notified, wrapping our arms around them and ensuring we provide them all the support that we can. Um, so there you go. Another mass shooting. You had one in Montana. You had one in New York. That was that NFL shooting. They had one in Reno, Vegas, right? Or not Vegas, but Reno, Nevada. But they said, we don't know how he got a gun on post. I'll tell you how. He put it in his bag, probably put it in the back of his car, drove up. ID has little post sticker. They go, that's how you do it. When I was at Fort Hood, Texas, we had a sergeant, a female sergeant, who was part of, you're going to love this. She was part of a gang in Killeen, Texas, known as the Tommy Hilfiger gang. Oh, yeah. They wore polo shirts with Tommy Hilfiger. And she had a Glock in a drawer in her locker in the barracks at Fort Hood, Texas. Yeah. When I was at Fort Lewis, Washington, they had a fight at McCord Air Force Base on the base at this bar and this fight. And this guy, one of our soldiers, a specialist in my unit, pulled a handgun and pointed it at people and then put it back in his car. Of course, he got arrested. But how did he get the gun on post? He put it in his car. He drove by the MPs. Hey, guys. All right, go. That's how he got it on post. It's easy. I'm not saying you should do it,